non-conference is over. 10-3 with the schedule we played is not bad. Would like to have gotten a few more of those wins, but I think we got better, and this team's good. I think Yale's best mid-major team in the country. I mean, they got a poll. They had Gonzaga number 1 and Yale 2. Well, Gonzaga's not a mid-major team, so the fact that they're even in that poll is not really because of the league that they play in, but they're not a mid-major team. So, I'm pretty good friends with James Jones. He does a great job. I've gotten to know him well. He's happened to play in the same, venue, same city in the NCAA tournament where we've been in a few different times and worked USA basketball with him a little bit. He can't get people to buy him, so because they're good and they are good. I mean, you saw the second half we had a hard time guarding them once they kind of settled in. So, to beat a team at this caliber by 24 going into conference play, good for our confidence. Going in, I thought the ball moved really well. We had guys take care of it. You kind of go through our 4 guards where we had 17 assists and no turnovers. If you look at Amari with 4, Holloway with 7, Houston with 3, Reitzel with 3. Those guys combined to give 17 assists with 0 turnovers. So, obviously Labaron's super talented, but, we were able to play pretty well without him, particularly on the offensive end, by those guys taking care of the ball, moving it. We shot it pretty well. We had 3 different guys make over 4 threes tonight, with Holloway goes 5 of 10. I thought he passed a few up he should have taken. Houston's 4 of 9, and then Trelly hit 5 himself. So I thought, those guys moved the ball. They were the beneficiary of the ball movement. Jaleel was 3 of 4 from 3. He can really shoot it. Mari's 2 of 4. So we had some guys make some tough, make some threes. We got 54 threes up, which it's a lot, but the way the ball was moving, I thought we did a pretty good job moving the ball. So, one thing I would have liked to have seen better is a defensive intensity for 40 minutes. I thought it was there for a bulk of the first 20, was not there to start the second half. We gave up 15 points in the first five and some change to start the second half. Not good. Then I thought the next 8 minutes were a lot better. And then we kind of, we built a little bit of a lead up at that under 8. And then, we were up 35 with 10 minutes to go. And I thought we didn't really play the last 10 minutes like we needed to. But, you got to give Yale a lot of credit. They only had 3 old boards in the first half. Weren't really getting out in transition much. We got them down 35. They got 11 old boards in the second half. They got out in transition, scored some transition buckets, hit some threes themselves. They ended up making 9 3. I mean, I think they're number 2 in the country in three-point percentage, and they shot almost 40% from 3 again on us. So the one thing we did do pretty well defensively is, I thought the way that we got, and again, he had a good game. He's a really good player. Townsend had 18 and 7, but he was leading the team in assists, and he didn't have an assist on the game. So some of the teams they had played, doubled them because they couldn't really guard him one-on-one, and then, he's hitting the ball. These guys, I mean, they got multiple guys on their team that shoot over 50% from 3. So we didn't want to give open shots up to their shooters. I think we did a fairly good job of that while we built the lead up. I didn't think we did a great job of it once we got the lead, though we gave a few threes up to those guys there in the second half. But, all in all, really good win going into conference play. Now we got to turn our attention to Kentucky, who's super talented, and, really big game for us to start conference play coming up on Saturday.
Coach, how likely is it that we get to see Labaron Philon open up SEC play?
Yeah, so we had 3 guys out tonight. Labaron is going through treatment. I mean, he's got left leg injury from a contusion he got in the Kennesaw game. It's definitely not super serious, but I mean, he couldn't play in a game now. We're off tomorrow. Hopefully he gets a lot of rehab, and I think it's pretty likely he plays Saturday, but I don't want to say for sure. London, we've been shooting for this game since he got hurt in the South Florida game. So, hopefully the rehab goes as well as it's going, and he's going to be available Saturday. And then Davion's got just a medical condition that we're trying to manage work him back into game shape, which he's just not quite there yet. And I don't know where he'll be. So we're I anticipate Labaron in London playing against Kentucky, but it's hard to say. See how the rehab goes over the next 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, Coach, Aden Holloway obviously had 26 points, but he also had the 7 assists with no turnovers. How pleased have you been with his development as a playmaker?
Oh, no, tremendous. Done a really good job. I think he needs to actually be more aggressive at times because he really doesn't turn the ball over much. I think he can get downhill, really create advantages. He's been able to shoot off the dribble. The fact that you can't go under on a ball screen on him. He shoots as well off the dribble as he does catch and shoot. So then, you chase him over. He's getting downhill. He makes the right reads. I mean, he's played really well offensively for us. And, especially with Labaron out, I think we really needed him to do what he did tonight. And he shoot, particularly in the second half. I think he scored or assisted on our first 13 points. We weren't great defensively, but, even though I thought we were actually terrible defensively to start the second half, they really didn't cut in the lead much because our offense was, good enough. So he ended up having 16 points the second half, and he really sat there for quite a while after we kind of pulled all those guys that contributed to the awful defensive start in the second half, and then he still ended up with 16 points. So he super talented, playing really well for us right now, and happy with the way he plays. He's been playing pretty well on offense, but really good tonight.
Yeah, Coach, you talked about over the course of the past couple of games of the second half not being able to bury teams early. What was that like tonight, being able to bury Yale pretty early?
I thought it was good. Again, the start of the second half, not good. Gave up 15 points the first 5.5 minutes or so. I thought after that, the media timeout was a little late. It was, I think, 14.5, the under 16. So about 5.5 minutes, we gave up 15. Well, then the next, whatever it ends up being, 3.5 minutes till the next media timeout, we only gave up 1 point on I think it was on 6 possessions. So then after that, it was 8 points from the under 12 to under 8. And that's when we built the lead up to 35 with somewhere around there right before the under 8 media. And then I thought our guys relaxed in the last 8, 9, 10 minutes, whatever it was there, which a little disappointing. So the start to the second half, the end of the second half, not what we need it to be, but to have the mentality to get, take that after we had the bad start to lock in, give up 1 point there till that next media timeout was pretty good. I think, the one guy that I thought really impacted that maybe the most was Reitzel. I think he really took some leadership on. We're not doing this anymore. Like we said, we got to get it. And I think, we've got some guys that are starting to step up, be leaders, do that. I'm looking right now. We got our defensive leverage numbers, and I think Reitzel in the second half was pretty good. So he's got the ability to be one of our best defensive guards, like with his quickness, toughness, strength. He stays in front of guys. He gets deflection. So I think he was a big part of that defensive. Keaton Bristow was pretty good. We brought some of those guys in off the bench, played pretty well for us.
Coach, it can be tough to miss a few months, get back into a rhythm. What have you seen from Jaleel in his time back so far, and what do you make of what he's going to be able to do for your team going forward?
Very talented scorer. Obviously, he scored at a high level in high school. He 3 or 4 from 3, didn't miss a free throw. 15 points in 20 minutes is pretty efficient. 15 points on only 7 shots. So we know he can score it. Which is good. He's getting in the rhythm offensively. That way, we got to get him to be better for us on the defensive end, like a lot of our guys, to be honest with you. But he's starting to get his rhythm back. Play with some freedom. Make better decisions on offense. He's starting to do that. So, learning to trust him a little bit more on the offensive end. We got to continue to build up some trust on the defensive end, though.
Coach, you reset the season high on three-pointers made with 22 from 16. You had 2 performances. It was 16. What do you think goes into such a great shooting performance, and how difficult is it to guard a team like yours with 5 different players making multiple threes?
Yeah, I mean, when we move the ball like we did tonight, and we space the floor like we spaced the floor, it's tough cover. I mean, shoot, our two centers each made a three. So, you can really space it that way. Noah hit that one. It'd been nice if he could have stayed out of foul trouble. He started out playing great. He had some, I thought, shoot, he went home to Latvia. We had 4 days off. He flew home to Latvia for Christmas, came back energized, didn't see any jet lag at all. I was super happy for him. I thought he's playing really well in practice, hit that first three, get him going, and then he ends up with 3 fouls in less than 2 minutes. So, we couldn't play him as much. But, when your centers can shoot, everybody on the floor can shoot. You get some of the best shooters in the country in Holloway, Millette, Reitzel, Bethea. I think those guys can really put a strain on the defense, because we also get guys that get in the paint. So do you want to, sit in the gaps, converge in the paint, or do you want to build out and take threes away? Well, I think they were going to take the paint away, so we took 54 threes. If we take 54 threes and get the right threes, we're going to make a lot. BYU took the paint away from us last year. We had 25 threes. So if you're going to build out, take the three away, I do think we got some guys that can get downhill and score at the rim. Obviously, when Labaron gets back, he's elite at that. Amari's been getting pretty good getting the ball downhill. We got, some guys that I think even Reitzel drives it with some physicality and can get in there. Bethea can do it. So either way, however you want to guard us, I think we've got good answers. But tonight, I think, and Yale's best team in the Ivy League, but we got better athleticism than them, so they probably had to pack it in a little tighter, due to our athleticism, and we were just able to move the ball and get pretty good looks from three. All right, Happy New Year to everybody else. See you on Saturday.